I've been talking to a few of my clients about testing ads, and I realized that it's kind of difficult to sometimes explain why it should be done, how it should be done, what types of ads we should be creating, and how to create them. So I thought I would put it into one simple video because I understand that it's not for everybody. The entire process is not something that you're born just kind of understanding. And even though it seems obvious to me, there is a reason for it, right? I'm in the space every single day. So I'm kind of getting used to doing this. So first of all, I think the question that is in everybody's minds when they're first presented with the okay, so this is how many ads we're gonna test, this is the budget that we need, blah blah, is why test ads? I mean, we somewhat understand it. I think it's somewhat obvious that yes, you need to test different ads to understand what works, but what's like really behind that is the question. So first of all, it creates a more structured approach to creating ads in the future, because one of the main things for any business, I think, is saving time. And if every single time that you sit down and you start trying to come up with something, you get stuck because you feel like you need to come up with something completely original, or something that's going to surprise everybody at work and the audience, you're going to be spending a lot of time doing that, and it's not really the most efficient way. So when you start testing ads and you start spotting what works, sometimes you can create a more structured, almost like template like approach to creating your ads. Another thing is obviously the kind of the wasted budget side of it, right? So you don't want to waste budget on ads that do not work, and you want to be able to find what works as soon as possible. Another thing is finding, this is kind of related, I guess, what resonates with your audience, because the same way that we look at ads and we skip over them, everybody else does that. Right? So just because it's your product, it doesn't automatically change for the people seeing those ads. So you need to kind of learn what actually makes them scroll, stop, look at the ad, potentially click on it, and maybe even make a purchase or reach out to you for your services, right? So that takes some time as well, because I think you probably understand yourself that you're not a simple human being. You're not that easy to manipulate necessarily, and it's the same with everybody else. So it takes time to get to know the audience and seeing what works with them. Another thing is obviously the reduced risk of launching kind of creatives that don't work. I mean, this is something that, again, it ties back to what we just discussed previously. But I mean, the entire point of testing and seeing what works is that in the future, you know what not to do just as well as you know what to actually go ahead and do, and how to set up those ads, and or rather how to create those ads, and then of course later down the line set those ads up in the ads manager, right? So again, it kind of reduces the risk of you launching ads and throwing money at them when they just never end up working the way that you were hoping they would. And another thing is obviously to ensure kind of the continuous improvement. I think this is, we're going back to the same things we just covered, but yeah, I mean, you always got to keep improving and seeing what new things could come out of your ads. Maybe using this type of ad, you get more high value sales. Maybe with another type of ad, you get more in terms of sales volume, maybe different audiences, whatever it is. There might be kind of patterns that you begin to notice. On the right hand side, this is just an example. I saw the ad that says the original ad, right? So I saw that ad and recreated it a little bit differently. So, for example, let's say I want to see how the ad would perform where maybe we use kind of larger objects in the ad, maybe we use clear text, a clear call to action, maybe we use colors that pop out of the entire interface of Meta, whatever it is that we want to test. We can just go ahead and recreate an existing ad, so it doesn't always have to be kind of a completely new thing. The next question I think that comes up naturally is, okay, well, what does the process look like and how do you start it? So the first thing, and I'm hoping that you can read the text, is pretty small, I just realized, but the first thing that you have to do is understand what it is that you're testing. So do you have any ideas for what could influence the audience, and why is that? Right? So for example, the ads that you can see on the lower right, the one on the left that says not the actual original ad, is exactly that. It's not, not the actual original ad, not even the same company, I believe, but it was there was an ad that was very similar to that, that was looking for truck drivers. And so when I sat down to redesign the ads, because I mean, they just weren't working. A lot of them were very kind of, a lot of them really do look extremely similar. So I was like, well, let me redo it in a different way. And the one on the right is the one that I redesigned. Now, the one thing that I have to stress pretty frequently is that it doesn't have to be appealing in terms of, you know, abiding by the laws of graphic design or whatever. I mean, as long as it gets the job done, communicates the message, resonates with the audience, captures their attention, you're good to go, right? Obviously, not including like reputational damage and stuff like that. But again, if it works, it works, right? So I put the ad together. I took a middle-aged man, which was kind of the target demographic. I put him on the ad banner. Be the boss, be your own boss on the road is again a phrase that I found pretty frequently when I went to Reddit and Quora and people were discussing being a truck driver. That was something that was pretty frequently mentioned, was that they enjoyed being their own boss because you kind of driving around on your own most of the time, at least, and you feel like you're kind of in charge. That's what I got, so I put that on there. And then they also listed a bunch of different things to look at in terms of benefits, right? So, what are we offering to the potential truck drivers? Why would they come work for us? And there was a huge list of it, right? So, I decided to actually go through the list. I went to ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude AI, and I spoke to all of these different AIs to try and understand what a truck driver, because I'm not a truck driver, what a truck driver would value the most. And of course, how to simplify them, because a lot of those benefits were like long, drawn out phrases. So I took a few that I thought were the most powerful, were going to be the most attractive. I kind of, narrowed them down a little bit and put them right there on the ad banner. And this ad banner did begin generating results pretty quickly. After that, we had some trouble with the account getting blocked for some unrelated reason. I think it was like another account that was tied to it somehow. I don't know. But yeah, still, when this ad did run, it ran pretty well. So, how do you start this entire process? Again, like I said, you need to start thinking about why are you doing this. So, for me, it was the fact that a lot of those ads in that field look very similar. A lot of them kind of contain this almost abstract text like efficiency on the move, as you can see right there, which again, I'm not judging anybody. I'm not saying it's necessarily not going to work, but I'm just saying that if you want to stand out, you got to stand out. So that's why I redesigned it, and in that case it worked right off the bat, right? So that's the first thing, is what are you going to do? You start with a hypothesis. Again, mine one was that this was going to work a little bit better because of these benefits and the fact that it's aimed so strongly at this target demographic. After that, obviously, you do have to, or not even necessarily after that, but I mean, just as part of the process, you need to analyze what used to work before or what didn't work before. So that's exactly what I did. Look at the audience values and what they connect with. Again, that's something I did. Test bold changes. Once again, some people test like they create an ad banner and they have a blue one, and then they create a red one, and that's what they're testing. The thing is, although there may be some logic behind it, and maybe you can use that information somewhere down the line, it's something that is not significant enough for you to, in most cases, see the difference, right? So maybe that one time you will, but if you do this in the future, you might realize that, hey, maybe the color didn't have that much of an impact. And another thing, of course, is ensuring that it goes well with your campaign goals. So, for example, in this case, the goal was to have people reach out to them, fill out lead forms who already know what they want, as opposed to just anybody, right? So that's why I put the benefits right there on the ad banner. We had the ad copy as well to go with that. So there was a lot of information there, and we did focus on some higher quality leads, let's say. So in that case, it worked. If we were going for a more brand awareness driven approach, maybe there would be more focus on the brand itself, the brand values, maybe a slogan, maybe the logo, things in that nature. So yeah, that's what it looks like before you launch. Then obviously you come up with the structure that we'll cover as well, and then you launch the ads. And at the same time, you also have to kind of be prepared to understand how you're going to analyze the results. So are you looking at brand awareness metrics? Are you looking, like at reach or frequency or CPM, CTR? Are you looking for conversions, right? So sales or leads? You look like, what is it that you're looking for, right? So what is it that you're going to be judging to understand if it's working or not working, right? That's a very important thing, because otherwise, for example, if you launch and you see that your cost per click is going up drastically, you might panic and turn it off. But maybe the return is actually significantly better, right? Because you're reaching a higher value audience, and therefore the cost per click is going up. But again, your returns may be getting bigger as well. So if you don't know what to look at, you could make the wrong decision very, very easily. So this is one of the most popular structures. Obviously, there are so many different structures, different ways that you can structure. I just noticed that creative number three is called creative number one. I think this might be repeated throughout the presentation, but I'll fix that. But anyway, so this is the automated test, I guess. So what happens is you set up three different ad sets, you put in creatives, right? Different ads, creatives, same thing, and you essentially just kind of start to, I mean, you put in money and you start to observe what the algorithm does. And sometimes it does pick a winner and it chooses to spend most of the budget on that specific ad or that specific creative, but not always. So if you don't already have kind of winning creatives or experience with what works, this might not be the best approach to pinpoint what works, because it does happen that Meta, for example, chooses a creative, puts a lot of money into it, even though it's definitely not the winner, right? And so you end up having a lot of money spent on an ad that's not working as well as you would like it to be. This is a more controlled test, I would say. So this is another way to do it. Here again, I see I made a mistake. It was supposed to be creative number one in each one of the ad sets, so my bad. But yeah, so here you have the same creative, right? So again, because of the mistake in the presentation, I'm sorry, but it has to be the same creative in every single ad set. And every single ad set has the same settings, right? Same audiences, same budget, same location, same everything. And this is because you want to isolate specifically the creative, and that's what you want to be testing, right? So this is a pretty common approach as well. If you have a larger budget, that's even better, because you'll be able to kind of isolate the creative, test it, see which one works, and just keep doing this, rinse and repeat. And then, of course, the third one. Once again, I'm sorry for for the uh, um, for the mistake with the creative number one, but uh, but yeah. So this is a kind of mixed approach where uh, you're testing maybe two different audiences in this example, and you're also testing the creatives, right? So you can see ad set number one, two, three, and then once again ad set number one, two, three with audience one and audience two. So essentially, what you're doing is the ad set is the absolute same in both cases, except for the audiences, right? So you have three different ad sets with one audience and three different ad sets with another audience. And then inside, you could have the same set of creatives. You can have one creative per ad set. It really doesn't matter. The point is that you can test, for example, creatives and audiences at the same time. But this is a little bit more complex in some situations. So the point of this video was just to kind of explain the reason why creative testing is important, to explain some of the most common from my experiences structures that I either use myself or I've seen in ad accounts, and to kind of give you a rough idea of where to get started. And again, I think this is not just something that is for media buyers, but for business owners, this is a far more efficient way to actually get the results you wanted, because in the long run, it will save you time and it will absolutely save you money.